Hello students and welcome to week 3 of our course. I hope you're doing well this week. We are going to be digging into, I think, some of the most fun stuff this week, and I'm excited to see what you think. I'm excited to see how this week goes, and I wanted to talk about two key things in my video announcement for this week. So first I want to talk about your teaching philosophy. And then I want to talk about responding to student writing, which is, of course, the focus of the reading for this week. So first of all, let's talk about that teaching philosophy because that will be due this week. And I wanted to say that it's a little bit different. Most of the time when I have had to do teaching philosophies for job applications, I get one page. Now they do let you single space it, but it's one page, and you do have a lot more wiggle room for this. So this can be much longer if you look at the samples, and make sure you look at the samples in our course. The exemplary teaching philosophy is 4 pages long. So you have a lot of room that gives you an opportunity to dig in and provide some detail. Of course, keep in mind that when you enter the job market, you may have to do some condensing. But for now, you get some wiggle room, you get some space, and that's going to be really good for writing that first teaching philosophy. Now, one thing that I recommend as you write your teaching philosophy is you think about your focus. What do you want to do? What do you want to teach? What are you going to most likely be going into? Now, if you don't know, then you can try to do it more broadly. And I think if you look at the samples, especially that exemplary one, it does allow you to think about it more broadly. But if you know, like for example, if you are teaching high school English and you know you're going to teach high school English, then that's going to help you with the focus. It's going to, I think, make it easier to write a teaching philosophy when you have that more narrow focus. For me, my specialization was teaching academic writing, as you know, and teaching mainly freshman composition. When I got into this field many years ago, my advisor told me, if you want to work, learn to teach freshman comp, and it has served me well. I wasn't comfortable teaching high school. I taught high school for a while, and I admire so much people who can handle the bureaucracy of our public education system. You are troopers, but it wasn't for me, and so I knew I wanted to teach at the college level exclusively. And so I listened to my advisor and I just focused specifically on freshman composition, and that has been mainly what I've taught. Now it certainly has branched into a wide variety of things related to writing instruction throughout my life, but I still consider myself at my core compositionist, and compositionists really do tend to specialize because that's where most of the work is in freshman composition. So if you know that's what you want to do, focus your teaching philosophy on that. But like I say, if you don't know, you can still talk about writing in general. If you're going to only teach creative writing, if you think that's the only thing that you're really interested in, then of course you'll focus it there. But keep that in mind. And then of course, in terms of content, think about things like, what do you want your classroom, either face-to-face or online, to feel like? How do you propose that you will help students take responsibility for their writing? How will you address issues of transfer of skill? What kind of student-centered work can you do? And so these are things to think about, and I look forward to seeing how those go. You do have those 3 samples. Be sure to take a look at those, and then we have some additional reading on helping you do a teaching philosophy. I don't know if I should share mine because mine is so short. It is 1 page single space, but I might do that. We don't have a discussion this week, but I will find a place to put it if I decide to, like if it's close enough to what you all have to do for this course. Now the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was responding to student writing, because this is obviously, as a writing teacher, where much of your life is going to be spent. So you want to do it well, you want to do it in a way that benefits students but also keeps you sane. And so we have some great reading this week from Ed White. Ed is just like basically the grandfather of responding to writing. I grew up on his work. I think he probably has formed the basis of our field when it comes to responding to student writing. And of course, you know, I think you'll enjoy the reading. It's really good. He has really sound advice. I think that one of the things I wanted to talk about was finding that balance between helping students and keeping your own sanity, because you will be, of course, providing a lot of feedback, and it takes time, and it's very much a part of, and I would argue maybe the biggest part of how you teach writing is how you respond to students on an individual basis and respond to their writing, especially beginning writers, when things are really raw and they're just getting going and finding their voices. You want to make sure that you never edit. It is bad for them and it's bad for you. One of my first courses I ever taught, at the end of the semester, we were putting together our portfolios and we were workshopping in class, and so the students were editing and putting things together and asking me questions, and one of my students said, "Oh, Dr. Sands, here's a typo you missed." And I was like, oh no, I have failed as a teacher. So after that, I started to make it much more clear to my students how I provide feedback, and that's something that you'll want to think about as you build your syllabi, as you build your assignments, as you build your teaching philosophy. And you want to keep in mind that editing doesn't do students any good because they just become dependent upon you. And I tell my students, if they ever win the lottery and want to hire me as their personal editing assistant and they want to pay me a whole lot of money to do that, I'll do that. But outside of that, they're going to have to learn skills and strategies for themselves, learn how to use things like peer review to take advantage, technological tools, but then also, of course, just themselves as their own editors. And so what I do when I grade papers is that I will edit the first page, or depending upon the length. On a 3 to 4 page essay, I will edit the first page. But what I'm doing is never use editing marks. You mark things and you provide explanations. Students do not understand editing marks, and unless you're going into editing, you don't need to use editing marks. They're not teaching tools. So you provide feedback looking for patterns of errors, and then I'll say, okay, I saw fragments, I saw subject-verb agreement errors, I saw comma troubles. Now, you look at the rest of this paper with these marks in mind and see what else you see. This is how students grow. You look for it, you help them find their struggles, and then you help them address those struggles on their own. That is the biggest thing that you can do as a teacher, is to give students that responsibility for their own writing. When I grade papers, I am always careful to say, you have a choice. I think this is ineffective and here's why. But if you really want to keep it, maybe you could think about X, Y, or Z. Students have their own say. I tell a story about a colleague who in grad school turned in her graduate paper. It was an F. She was asked to revise, and she said, no, I stand by that. That's what I wanted to submit. And she took her F. Not everybody's willing to do that. I don't think I would be, but some people are. But that responsibility and ownership of her writing was really powerful to see, and I think that's something that we want to give to students. Maybe not to that extent. I think she was really strong, and I don't know how many of us could be that strong, but we do want students to learn to take responsibility for their own writing and understand that we are guides. We are not the bosses when it comes to their writing. So I am so excited to see what those teaching philosophies look like. I kind of wish we had I really wish we had a discussion this week. I will probably open up an optional area for us to talk a little bit, but then we do have room next week to talk more. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you think. I think you're going to love this content. I'm excited to see what those teaching philosophies look like, and I wish you luck as you draft those. Okay, thank you so much. See you in the classroom. Have a great week.